But, oh, there we go. I think we're recording. Hey, it's Pastor Joe, and with this whole thing with the Chinese coronavirus thing, figured it'd be best to try to catch up somehow. And so here I am, trying to do my very first live stream. And so here's what we're going to do. It is going to be 6 to 10 minutes, one take. If there's any screw-ups, if my phone drops off of where it is, if the lights turn off, if somebody comes through the door back over there, we're just going to go with it. But I figure we'll take as often as I can, but at least once a week, we'll take 6 to 10 minutes and just talk about something that maybe I've been praying about, and maybe we can get some comments down below, get some interaction going. And if you have any questions or anything like that, we can certainly deal with it. Hopefully, this only happens once or twice, and we can be back in youth group pretty soon. But if not, it'll be myself, and maybe I'll ask some of the other staff to start to post some videos as well. So this is going to be here. It's going to be on the church website. We're going to put it on our Instagram feed, put it on YouTube, Facebook, so your grandparents can look at it, stuff like that. So let me talk with you about the thing that I was thinking about, though. And so I'm going to look down here and read from some notes. And I just started the timer, so there's your 6 minutes starting. So here's what I was thinking. And I was thinking about the word perspective. And I want to give you something that I've been reading and studying on the topic of that and how it might relate to just, here we are sitting in our homes and not able to go anywhere. And I haven't driven my car. I drove today, but before that I hadn't driven for like 3 days, right? So you guys are out of school. There's a whole bunch of like, oh my goodness, what's going on? That kind of stuff. So I came across this passage, and it's in Matthew 27, and it's verse 57 through 60. So let me set the stage for you real quick. It's right after the crucifixion of Jesus. And so they made sure he was dead. And keep in mind, though, that everybody, even though Jesus was telling people this is not how this is going to work, everybody thought for sure Jesus is going to come and he's going to be the Messiah. And by that, what we mean is he's going to make everything better. He's going to throw off the Roman oppression. He's going to reset us to the rest of the world as a kingdom again. And that's what they were expecting. When they didn't have that, a lot of people got mad, and that's the reason why they were saying, crucify him, less than a week after he entered. So here he is. He's been crucified. And there was one of the people, the members of the Sanhedrin, which was the ruling class, who was a Pharisee, and his name was Joseph of Arimathea. And I want you to listen to this, because we have to put ourselves not knowing what we know, but put yourself in Joseph of Arimathea's shoes at the time. It says here, when evening had come, there came a rich man from Arimathea named Joseph, who himself had also become a disciple of Jesus. Now it says later that it happened. And elsewhere it says that he was secret about it. It says, this man went to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. And then Pilate commanded the body to be given to him. And when Joseph had taken the body, he wrapped it in a clean linen cloth, and he laid it in his new tomb, which had been hewn out of the rock. And he rolled a large stone against the door of the tomb and departed. Picture what that was like. All Joseph's hopes and dreams about the coming Messiah was wrapped up in Jesus. He had come to believe that Jesus was who he said he was. And here he was, the person who was handling the body of what he believed was the Messiah. And yet, he was the one that took that gruesome, disfigured body so that it was beaten so badly that you couldn't even recognize that he was a person. Took it down off the cross, actually handled his hands with the nail holes in it and his side with the spear hole in it, blood everywhere. Took him down, had to have blood and stuff all over him, and wrapped him and put him in the tomb. And the last thing it says is that he rolled the stone in front of the tomb, and he turned and walked away. Now, at that moment, that's all Joseph knew, was that his friend and the one that he believed was the Messiah was behind that rock, and that was the end of the story. For him, it felt really bad. And his perspective at that point in time could have been completely hopeless, and you would have understood it. And we know the rest of the story. We know what it means But for ourselves, I think a different perspective is in order. See, because here's what was happening at the very moment that Joseph rolled that stone in front of the tomb. Something was happening. See, Jesus himself, he although his body was dead, he said it is finished, and what he meant was the finished work of grace was finished on the cross. And right at that moment, as that was happening, it says that Jesus was going and he was preaching to the spirits who were in prison, to people who had looked forward to the coming Messiah. And he was saying, I'm him. And he was in Abraham's bosom. He was in paradise. He was in the place where people had gone before, when they were looking forward to Jesus, who had not yet gone to heaven. And it says that he actually crossed over. In Colossians, it says that he crossed over and he took Satan and he took him. And it says he stripped him of all his powers. Listen to what it says in Ephesians. But to each one of us grace is given according to the measure of Christ's gift. Therefore, he says, and by the way, what I'm about to quote is from Ephesians, but it's actually a quote from the Old Testament in Psalm 68. It says, when he ascended on high, he led captivity captive and gave gifts to men. Now this, he ascended, what does it mean? But that he also descended into the lower parts of the earth. That's where it is. That's where he was. He who descended is also the one who ascended far above all the heavens, that he might fill all things. At that very moment that Joseph thought, it's over, it's done, Jesus was saying, it's over, but you don't know what you mean by it's over. You see, me being the Messiah is the real thing. And it says that all of the people, that when Jesus rose from the dead 3 days later, there was a great earthquake and there was a resurrection of people who had actually been looking forward to the Messiah. And Jesus took those people, the captivity, and he took it captive and he brought it up to heaven and declared an eternal victory. And it's a victory that you and I as Christians can live today. It's a victory that Joseph of Arimathea certainly knew about just a few days later. So it's amazing how quickly things can change. So I think the perspective that I want us to have is that we may or may not know what's going to happen in these next few days. But God knows. And because God knows, we can trust him. I might not know what's going to happen, but God knows what's going to happen, and I trust him because of it. And if we have that perspective, it'll take fear right away because we can trust him in it. So anyways, I hope this helps. I hope it's an encouragement for you. Questions that you might have about it, prayer requests specifically, we're going to post this in a couple of different places. Take a look below. I'd love to interact with you on it, and God bless you guys. Hopefully we'll see you real soon.